Hello and welcome back to another episode of Totally Not a Ripoff of Crash Course. Today we're back because I got another project for A-Push. This project happens to be about government mobilization during World War II. You guys having fun yet? Okay, I think this intro's gone too long. Quite long, actually. Because, I don't want to be marked down for, Stalin for time. Yeah. Stalin, because he killed a bunch of people and had rainbow hair. Yes. Okay, yeah, no, this is actually going on too long. Play the intro! This is the intro song. Please don't sue me. This is the intro song. Please don't sue me. Thank you very much. We all know the story of Pearl Harbor. Japanese troops attacked U.S. ships. And this led to the U.S. unanimously deciding to go to war. But when going into war, you have to mobilize. And in mobilizing, you have to send out your troops, and you have to spend a lot of money. In fact, the budget of the government in 1945 was 10 times that of the budget in 1939. And as a result, the GDP in that period of time nearly doubled. Of course, a lot of this spending was done in the West. It was, after all, closer to Japan. The government opened up factories and military facilities, and various infrastructure around the West Coast. And they spent about $40 billion. The Pacific Coast became the center of ship and plane manufacturing and turned LA into an industrial city along with their film industry. Labor was a huge part of American society. Because, of course, with all these factories, you have to have people to work in them and to run them and to create all of these munitions, these war tools. But more on that, let's go to the really bad animation that I made. The Army took a lot of men and women, 15 million in fact, giving the US a serious labor shortage. Yet, the workforce increased by 20%. How, you may ask? Well, people who are generally deemed unfit to work, aka women, children, and the elderly, soon joined the workforce, taking the place of the men who went off into war. With more people in the workforce, more people joined unions. 2.5 million, in fact, joined the unions. This was mostly due to the concept of maintenance of membership, where all people who worked in places to support the war were automatically enrolled into unions. The government did enforce this with two major caveats: no strikes and a maximum of a 15% increase in wages. Despite this, there were still work stoppages, because workers still went on unauthorized strikes, known as wildcat strikes. In response to this, the government passed the Smith-Connolly Act, which required strikers to wait 30 days before striking. Before the war, people worried about deflation, and later inflation, because prices rose drastically before the war. As a result, the Office of Press Administration was founded to mitigate these issues. Despite its success, it was never popular. There were a lot of black market deals that the OPA couldn't control. The US was also in a lot of debt. They spent $321 billion on World War II, 10 times more than in World War I. National debt rose to $259 billion. And to combat that, the government raised money by implementing the Revenue Act of 1942, increasing income taxes. War bonds were also sold to help support the war and to combat this crippling debt. Roosevelt had a lot of criticism for his attempts at mobilizing the economy. So, to kind of help mobilize the economy, he created the WPB and later the OWM, which both ultimately failed. And they failed pretty badly. Though somehow the workforce still managed to produce more than the government ever needed. Okay, that was a lot of talking for me. That was a lot of speaking, and there's like 2.5 pages of just lines I have to speak in this script that I wrote. And you know what? I'm tired. I'm gonna go take a nap now. So we're going to run an ad. Well, we're going to run a few ads. And from our sponsors, because apparently we have sponsors now. And we'll be back in a little bit. Don't miss me too much. What? What? Wait, are we back or something? Are we, like, are we back? Oh God! You know what? I don't want to do this anymore. This is so time-consuming and tiring, and just like, why? Why do I even bother doing this any? Okay, we're back. We're back. We're ready. I'm ready. Please don't fail me. It's time for some science and technology. Germany and Japan had a lot of cool technology. German armor and sub-technology was the top tier in the world. Japan had a crazy good air force and navy with highly sophisticated planes, which launched from aircraft carriers. America also had its advantages as well. They were able to mass produce things really, really quickly, turning car factories into these massive military machine-making machines. Massive capital allowed the US to mass produce. The Americans and British also had scientists that quickly improved the technology so that they could catch up to the Axis. By 1942, the Allied tech was plentiful and just as advanced as their opponents. There were three major innovations in World War II that aided the Allied forces in beating the Germans and Japanese. There was sonar, long-range bombing, and code breaking. American and British physicists worked hard to improve the radar and sonar technologies, expanding the use of radio waves. These inventions helped to combat German U-boats very effectively. There was also the centimetric radar, which uses narrow beams of short wavelengths, which made radar more efficient and effective. It put Americans far ahead in tech compared to the Axis. The Allies also used sonar to detect German naval mines. The Germans did respond with acoustic mines, but they were easily beaten by the Americans. 1942 meant the beginning of Allied four-engine bomber production. Some, like the British Lancaster B-1 and the American Boeing B-17F, were capable of holding 6,000 pounds of bombs, flying at an altitude of 37,500 feet. These conducted longer and more damaging bombings on Germany and Japan, and destroyed them pretty heavily. The greatest advantage that the Allies had over the Axis was their ability to decipher code. The Germans had a very complex machine that encrypted their messages, and this machine was called Enigma. Enigma constantly changed the code that it was using, so it was hard to crack the message. Polish scientists made a computer that could decipher some messages, but after the fall of Poland, it didn't work out too well. However, Alan Turing and his group of British scientists improved on the Polish computer and created a machine that could break code faster and better, and it worked 100% of the time. This was unknown to the Germans and would be a major downfall of the Nazis. Eventually, the first real programmable computer was developed, better known as the Colossus Mark II, which deciphered thousands upon thousands of German messages before the Battle of Normandy, which helped the Allies greatly. And that's about it. Today we learned about government mobilization in regards to labor, the economy, and science and technology. It is 2 in the morning right now and I haven't done any of my homework, so I think I should be going. Citations, as far as citations are concerned, I have only used the book, and that's really about it. Goodbye. That's how I'm going to end this, aren't I? Whatever.